Well, today I thought we'd take a look at one of our new gardens here at the Studio Gardens. This is a wonderful garden that was designed and planted by Olin Thomas, one of our OBGA ambassadors. And Olin, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome, Brenda. Glad to be here.
Now, what was the idea behind this garden? Because it is just now coming into, it really looks pretty right now. What was the idea behind this garden?
Well, the idea of planting this garden was to try to select some ornamental grasses that we wanted to exhibit. And as you know, ornamental grasses by themselves aren't that attractive. They really show off at their best when they have other plants planted with them. So what we tried to do was select a few perennials that would accent the grasses and look good with them.
Okay, so the perennials, not only do they have to look good with the grasses, but they also have to have somewhat similar cultural requirements if you really want to have a successful garden.
That's exactly right. Whenever you're grouping any kind of plants, you want to try to get them that have those same kind of cultural requirements, and you'll have greater success.
Okay, well, this really is a nice garden, and I thought what we could do is just go along here and take a look at some of the individual plants that are in here, and maybe we could just start with some of the grasses.
Okay, well, this first grass right here, the variegated one, is a miscanthus, and it's a cultivar called Cosmopolitan. Now, I should say that all of these grasses, and in fact all of these plants, are going to look better next year because we just planted these about 2 or 3 months ago. And so as the plants mature a little bit and the garden fills in there, it's really going to look stunning. So what we have here is sort of an idea of what's to come. This grass will actually get 6 to 7 foot tall, and right now it's about 3 foot tall. So when you can envision these plants filling in, it's going to really take off. Now, this Cosmopolitan is a very nice one because it doesn't flop. That's the great thing about this grass. It stands up straight, doesn't fall over, and that's an introduction from the National Arboretum, as most of these grasses are. Very nice cultivar.
Great.
We have another grass right here in the center. Now, it's a smaller one, another miscanthus called Yakujima. It's essentially a dwarf. But anything labeled Yakujima has great variability in it because it's a seed-grown cultivar. The National Arboretum collected the seed on the island of Yakujima off the coast of Japan several years ago. And because it is seed propagated, there's quite a bit of variation. Now, I should say that when we started planting this garden, we didn't get everything that we wanted. We made a list of things that we thought would be interesting and plants that we would go for, and we visited a couple of nurseries, and of course, like any other gardener, we weren't unable to find everything that we wanted. So Yakujima is sort of a compromise, and some of these other plants are too. So we're treating it like many of our viewers would. They have to work with what's available, and you can still have a very nice garden.
And that is it's a nice feathery look to it.
Yeah, that's a delicate one, and it's known for its classic vase shape, but it will only get no more than 5 foot tall.
Okay.
Let's see, let's go to that one back over behind there. That's a new one. Very little is really known about it. It's another miscanthus. It's called Central Park. It's very broad-leaved, nice, good color, as you can see, and it will get about 8 foot tall.
So that's why it's at the back.
Right. Now, right now, it's only about 4 foot tall, so next year, look out.
Yeah, it's going to be big.
Yeah. Now, the one in front of it right here with a nice blue-green color is a native grass, switchgrass. That's a selection from the state of Wisconsin. It was selected for its blue color and its upright habit. And it's a very nice selection. I like switchgrasses very much.
And this one is Prairie Sky.
Prairie Sky, yes, is the cultivar.
It really has a nice blue tint to it.
Right. Right here we have another miscanthus. It's a very delicate textured one. I believe that's Morning Light. And it is characterized by having a highlight on the edge of each leaf in addition to that white midrib, which all miscanthus have. So it's very narrow foliage, and that highlight makes it really light up the landscape. Now, when these plants get a little bit mature, they'll fill in. Those 3 clumps will kind of grow together and make a nice big clump. And it's not too big, about 4 foot tall. And it really lights up an area. Very nice plant. One that we have right here is Calamagrostis, or feather reedgrass. Carl Forster is the cultivar. Again, it's characterized by very upright habit. You see how it stands up straight, doesn't flop. It's just a very nice plant. The real difference between this one and many of the others that we have in here is that this one is a cool season plant. So it takes off and starts growing in very early March when it just begins to warm up. And as you can see, it's already going to seed. It's far ahead of any of these other grasses in here, and they're even beginning to mature and turn brown.
Right.
So it's actually up and giving you something more to look at besides foliage right now in the middle of the summer, while the others are getting ready for a late summer and fall display. These seeds will persist through the autumn. They won't persist through the winter, but the upward spikes will, and the whole grass will have a very pleasing tan texture throughout the winter if you're willing to leave it for winter interest.
Okay. I like that. It's kind of a narrower
Yeah,
grass.
it's a very nice one. This is kind of a fun one right here, this Mexican feathergrass, or Stipa tenuissima. As you can see, it's also a cool season grass. It's also setting seed. That's the discolored or tan portion of this grass. And it's just a fun grass to grow because it's really needle thin leaves. It makes it really blow in the breeze and makes a good show. The other thing about this grass that we like is that we're kind of experimenting with it. We're right on the border of its hardiness. So we're trying to stretch the envelope, so to speak, to see if we can get away with growing this grass in this bed and see if it'll winter over for us. It's really a zone 7 plant, and we're about a 7B to 6 here. So we're going to test it out and see how it does.
So those people in the south part of the state probably would have no problem with that, but those people in the north and in the panhandle, it'd be kind of iffy.
Right.
So.
Well, let's work our way back and talk about some of these plants that we've mixed in with some of the grasses. This very showy one right here is Liatris spicata, or gay feather. There are many species of Liatris. We like this one in particular because it blooms early. And as you can tell by looking at the foliage, it's very nice. Nice dark green color, no insects bother it. That's one of the great things about Liatris. Pests, there are a number of plants in here like that. When we were writing the plant descriptions, I just kept saying over and over again, pest free, because that's one of the interesting characteristics of many of these plants. So you get the beauty and you don't have to worry about the insects chewing up the plant.
That's a good quality to have in a plant.
I think so too. This is giant coneflower, or Rudbeckia maxima. This is really a plant from the southeastern third of the state where it's native. It's also called cabbage-leaved coneflower because of those very large, handsome leaves. And they'll get even larger next year as this plant matures and grows a little bit taller.
Now what's the mature height of this particular one?
I have one in my garden right now that's about 6 foot tall.
So it's another back.
Yes, and if you're down in its native habitat where it gets even more moisture, they say in the books that it'll get up to 8 feet tall. I have not seen that, but it will get very large.
Nice one. I've noticed a lot of your plants in here that are with your grasses still have a very upright form to them, so they really blend in well with the grasses.
Well, that's one of the things that we were trying to achieve, and as I said before, as the plants mature and they fill out, it'll look a lot more crowded in here, and then when you have that upright habit, nothing seems to get lost or will fall down by the wayside. We might talk a little bit about this plant that's growing right here through these others. This is Verbena bonariensis, also known as Buenos Aires verbena. We like this plant very much. You can see it's very showy flower head, and it has very delicate leaves, and there aren't that many leaves up along the flower stem. It's what in the literature is referred to as a scree plant, S-C-R-E-E, meaning that it's a see-through plant. So you can plant this plant at the front of the border, the middle of the border, or the back of the border, and it will make a good show. And if it's in the front, it doesn't block your view, but blends in, and it looks very nice, like right here where it's growing up through other plants.
I like that one a lot. I've seen that plant interplanted with Poas Castle, and it's very pretty with the purple coming up through it.
Yes, indeed. Now, Poas Castle is one of our proven winter plants from the OBGA trials, And it's an artemisia, of course, and you grow it for its foliage. It doesn't have a bloom. You don't have to cut anything off. You don't have to give it any care. This is a very tough plant. It grows naturally into a nice tidy mound. This is about pushing a 3-foot diameter mound because we just planted it this year. Next year it'll get up and its mature size 4 to 5 foot mound, and that is if you cut it to the ground each year, which I recommend that you do. You can size them up by not cutting them to the ground each year, and it can get up to 6 foot tall, but it will be open and be more shrub-like, and it won't be as self-supporting. If you just cut it to the ground, say 4 to 6 inches, you'll get a very nice tidy habit, and you'll never have to worry about it again. It won't flop open and be ugly.
Okay.
Here's another shrub right here. Bird of Paradise is the common name. The buds are forming. This is just getting ready to bloom. This is not a native, although many people think it is. It's actually native to Central America, although it is naturalized widely along the roadsides in the state of Oklahoma and some surrounding states.
Which means it's tough.
It's very tough. That's one of the reasons I like to grow this plant, besides the beautiful flowers. We have it in here with the other plants, and it will tolerate the required moisture that we're going to give these other plants. But if you have a place at home that is extra tough, you can plant this plant, and after the first year, you don't have to water it, you don't have to do anything to it. It's very tough. There is a limitation, however, and that is that we're, again, on the edge of its hardiness. It's really about a zone 6 plant. So in an average winter, it's going to be great. These were widely killed back in 1983 when we had a very abnormal winter, and they sort of disappeared from the trade. So be aware that you could lose it in an abnormal winter, but how often is that going to happen?
Right.
It's definitely worth growing. There's also another one that I recommend that you cut to the ground. You can grow it as an open shrub, and that's sort of the habit that you'll see here. If you don't prune it back and just let it grow on its own, it'll get up to 12 foot tall, and it'll be very open. But if you want it to fill in, you can just cut that off at the ground, and you'll get all kinds of shoots coming up from that, and it'll be a nice, tidy mound just covered with blossoms.
Okay.
Now this plant will bloom until it freezes. By stooling it back like that, you delay blossom for about a month, but you will get far more blossoms, and it'll be neat and tidy.
Okay. Now when you talk about cutting all of these back, that would be in the spring, right before things would start to leaf out?
Yes,
Okay.
Early April
Okay.
and late March. This is Augustaceae, one of the newer cultivars called Blue Fortune.
Bees like it.
Bees like it, butterflies love it. This is another plant that will bloom until frost. You don't have to deadhead it. You can though. If the blossoms get to look a little untidy, you can come out here and just shear it off and it'll go again. And again, I'd like to point out that the foliage is unaffected by pests.
That's a very nice looking plant. And this is another one of the new Oklahoma proven plants here you've got.
That's right. This is Magic Carpet Spirea. We have one planted as a single specimen. We like this plant very much. As you can see, it's really a foliage plant. It will have a nice blossom. It's passed and has been pruned back from early spring blossom. But you grow this plant as a foliage plant. And again, I like to emphasize the nice, tidy habit. It doesn't flop open, doesn't fall over. It's self-supporting, does a real nice job.
It's also kind of a bright spot with that lighter foliage.
Yeah, when you walk into the garden here, your eye just sort of goes right to that one. Right beside it here we have Texas sage, or Salvia griegii. This is a cultivar called Pink Preference, which has an interesting story behind it. It came from the childhood home of the co-owner of Sunshine Nursery in Clinton, Oklahoma, and she grew up with it. And her father used to grow it. And if it can survive in Clinton, Oklahoma, it can survive anywhere. And
That's true.
Interesting part of that survival story is that we're, again, on the edge of the hardiness of this plant. There are a lot of these cultivars of griegii around. I've tried purple, white, there's orangey red, there's a lot of reds. Pink Preference has outperformed all of them and is much hardier. and I would really rate that one as a zone 6. It's really tough to kill.
Of course, the Russian sage is another one of those nice tall plants that you've got in here.
Yeah, that's another one of those upright ones where we try to crowd it in and make it reach up and fill in between some of these other plants. It's another plant that will just bloom until frost non-stop. This is really just getting going. And that's another one that I also recommend that you cut to the ground. You can size it up, but it will be open and not as attractive, and you won't get as many blossoms. If you just clip that back, it's what's called a sub-shrub. It's kind of woody. It is an herbaceous perennial, but the stem gets kind of woody. And if you just cut that back 4 to 6 inches from the ground, it'll make a really tight bush and will just be covered with blossoms.
Now this last one is really blooming, and I love that. It's almost a powdery blue.
Yeah, isn't that a lovely color? That's Salvia nemorosa, appropriately named Blue Hill. Now again, we like these salvias because insects don't bother them. They have a very pleasing scent if you crush the foliage, and you get all of these blossoms. You can get even more blossoms if you come out and shear it a little bit and deadhead it, although you don't have to. It will just really bloom up a storm.
Well, overall, this is just a beautiful garden, Olin, and I'm anxious to come back and see it in a year and see how much it's filled in.
Oh, I am too.
And I really appreciate you both planting this and also telling us about it.
It was a thrill. I'm glad to be here, Brenda.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.